So there's this thing that nearly every single keynote speaker in a seminar, college professor, or guest speaker or guest lecturer is going to tell you whenever they show up to a room full of aspiring professionals or young people who are about to go out and conquer the world. They all want to give you some good advice to walk away with. I mean, commencement speeches. Oh my gosh, I bet what I'm about to talk about has popped up in numerous commencement speeches. And I can tell you right now, I have been guilty of giving this very advice to so many young people. And the older I get, the more I realize that was some crap advice. And so I don't want to give it anymore. And the advice is simply this. When someone asks you how to be successful, what do they always tell you to do? Go find your what? Your passion. Go find something you're passionate about and pursue that. Well, I have completely abandoned that idea. I do think it's important to know what your passions are, enjoy them, have fun with them. If you can turn them into a side hustle, get after it, go for it. But it's not the best advice, especially for someone who is young and just starting their career. Better advice is this. One, go look for something you're really, really good at. You need to take stock of those talents, those superpowers that you and only you possess right here, right now. What are the things that the absolute minimal input for you honing a skill could lead to a 10x output? Are you a good speaker? Are you a good writer? Are you analytical to a fault? Are you someone who can just crush a PowerPoint presentation like nobody else? You know how to take 40 slides and distill it down into 10 truly impactful slides. That's your gift. That's your superpower. If you will find something that you can really crush and that you can master, that's what you need to do, because here's what will happen. There's kind of a sequence of events that as I get older and older and older, and I am getting older and older and older, I realized that as I look back on my career, there's two things that I did that were really stupid. One is I would always try to get really good at things that I thought were important, that impressed me, that if I was really honest with myself, I knew I was not good at. And then I always had this thing in the back of my mind that I had to do something I was passionate about. Anytime I was bored or not enjoying what I was doing, it's because I would chalk it up to, well, I'm not passionate about this, so therefore I'm never going to be good at this if I'm not passionate about it. But what I've learned is that the better I get at something, the more I enjoy that thing. That is how our brains work. That is how our minds work. We love being a ninja of something. We love mastery. That's why once you start to master something that maybe you did have a passionate about something, and then if you can match those two, where you're really passionate about playing the guitar, and therefore then you get really good at it and you start to master it, then you just do that really, really well for a long time. But that's great. But generally speaking, it's flipped. The things that we generally end up loving to do more than anything else are those things that we're really, really good at, because there's nothing that substitutes confidence in our abilities to do a task. It just makes the task more enjoyable. We get more creative with those things we're really, really good at. A bricklayer that is a true master of his craft knows how to put the mortar on and get 10 bricks laid in the time it might take a novice, to do 2 bricks, because the master bricklayer is really good at it. And I can almost guarantee you that a master bricklayer is dull and boring and no doubt physically arduous as that is. They probably like doing it because they know they're just a badass at it. They're good at it, and they can become passionate about masonry and getting creative and knowing how to build beautiful, beautiful cathedrals with their bricks. So I think that's something that we need to start focusing on, or that I know I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take stock of not just those things that I have the deficit in and trying to overcome my deficits, which I'll always try to do that. I'm always trying to improve and get better in both the things I'm good at as well as those things where I'm really highly deficient. But what I'm also trying to do is just cut out the things that I'm deficient in. And there's some that you can't. There's some things that life will just tell you, look, you may not be very good at this. You may be a 6 out of 10, but you've got to get at least to an 8 out of 10 in this task to keep your job. You better do that. Overcome your deficits. But if you really want to crush it, if you really want to be really, really good, then find the thing that you're good at and become a 10 out of 10. And guess what? Then people will say, you know what? Don't worry about that thing that you're the 6 out of 10 at. We need you to do this thing that you're a 10 out of 10. I'll tell you a way that I used to do this was when I was in business school, I was not passionate about creating PowerPoints, certainly wasn't passionate about financial analysis, and I was pretty poor at both of them. Actually, I was pretty good at PowerPoint, but Jake Frost, my buddy Jake, was just a ninja at creating beautiful, concise PowerPoints. But you know what I was really good at? Speaking. And I love speaking. I like speaking because I'm good at it. I'm good at it because I like to do it. And so when it came time to do group presentations, I'm the guy that'll hold my hand up. Now that's a pretty cool superpower because in a lot of group settings, most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to get up in front of the room. Most people, survey the old survey that's gone around forever that most people would rather die than actually get up and speak in front of an audience. Not me. I love it. It's a blast. I like to entertain. I like to make people laugh. I have no inhibitions, probably when I should, but nevertheless, I like doing it. So that's something that I'm passionate about. And so therefore, I am now at the point where because I'm pretty good at it and I like doing it, I want to get really, really good at it. And here's the thing that if you're like me, you may have missed in this whole concept, this whole development of who you are in professional development, self-improvement. The thing you might have missed is that because you are good at a thing, you took it for granted and you didn't go from good to great because you thought, I've got this. I did that forever when it came to speaking and interpersonal communications. I thought this is just something I'm kind of naturally gifted at. I'd had a lot of positive reinforcement. So I thought, I'm not going to go take speaking classes. I'm not going to learn how to communicate. I know how to communicate. I crush it. I can give a speech, whatever. No. And the thing is, in all honesty, was I good? Yeah. Am I good? I'm okay, I think. And it's not false humility, but compared to, certain folks that are out there doing talks, compared to Tony Robbins, compared to Zig Ziglar back in the day, compared to so many of these other masters, like Scott Galloway, who you're gonna hear from in a minute, compared to those guys, God, I am just, I don't even deserve to carry those guys' water. I really don't, because they're so much better, but they practiced. Did you know that Jerry Seinfeld, who looks like, you look at Jerry Seinfeld and you think, yeah, he probably honed his craft in the nightclubs and whatever, but he's just naturally gifted as a comedian. He's funny. He doesn't mind getting up in front of an audience. He's articulate. But did you know that Jerry Seinfeld sits in a chair every single day to this day for no less than an hour, writing his material, going over sentence by sentence, adding words, taking away words, lengthening lines, shortening lines, just going through it meticulously to get it absolutely perfect. Now, Jerry Seinfeld is an absolute comedic ninja, but to this day, he's still sharpening his blade. He's still trying to figure out how to get better and better and better. And by being the absolute best at it, that's why he is a billionaire comedian. So what is that thing that you are really, really good at? And young people, that's what you've got to figure out. And don't say to yourself, don't fall into the trap that I fell into when I was young, where you say, I don't like my job. Instead, go, what is there at my job that I am good at and that I could be the linchpin at in this organization? What is the thing that I could do that could make me so good that I could add massive value to the organization if only I could just get a little bit better, a little bit better? And look, you may not find it within your organization if you don't, but if you know exactly what you're good at and you see that opportunity that comes along, you go, golly, this organization needs someone with my skills and my talent. And it's really crazy. You'll learn that the things that you may have thought that you hated, you can start to like them a lot better if you get really, really good at them, because confidence is a great thing. Now, I mentioned Scott Galloway, so I've just finished 2 of Scott's books, and Scott Galloway is kind of like my guy right now. I tend to do this. I'll find people that fascinate me, that I feel like I can learn a lot from. I've actually made Scott Galloway one of my virtual mentors at this point. Don't agree with him on 100% of everything that he says, and But that's just because he's a human being. That's not important. I guarantee you, I agree with him on a lot more of it than I disagree with him on. He's just a bright guy. And I can relate to his path to where he is right now because much like me, in his undergraduate studies, he was very mediocre. He had to beg, plead, and coerce to get into a good graduate school for business school. Did the same thing myself. And then he went on, and obviously the biggest contrast between Scott Galloway and I is that he is wildly, ridiculously successful as an author, as a speaker, as an investor, and an entrepreneur. And I am, I'm working at it. Let's just say that. But he's also got a few years on me. So hopefully by the time, I think he's about 5 years older than I am, 5 or 6 years older. So hopefully in 6 years that I'll be able to get on a stage somewhere with Scott Galloway and tell him how much he meant to me as a virtual mentor. But I want to play a little bit about a clip from a talk that Scott was giving here recently. And by the way, the books that I've just recently read are The Algebra of Happiness and The Algebra of Wealth, both by him. They're compilations from his blog, which is No Mercy, No Malice. And as the title indicates, it's very good. There's no mercy. He tells it exactly like it is, but there's no malice either. It's not to try to hurt people or try to aggravate you or upset you. But the bottom line is, it's like he's not going to pull any punches. He's going to always shoot you straight. And there's no ill intent. And I can tell you that the No Mercy, No Malice newsletter is fantastic. I'm a subscriber. And these two books are basically compilations of a lot of those ideas more fleshed out. And they're just quick, easy reads with such great practical advice on life that I highly recommend either one of them. And one of the things that he talks about is this idea of not following your passion. So I thought I would just play a little bit of a clip from Scott Galloway talking about this very thing and why he has decided that when he's talking to his students at NYU, Stern School of Business, why he never gives them this advice to follow your passion.
The worst advice you will ever hear in this chair, and you'll hear it every week during your entire business school career, is the following. We invite two types of people to universities to speak, or business schools. Super interesting and successful people, or billionaires. For some reason, we've decided that billionaires just have insight around life. And they oftentimes finish their conversation with what I think is some of the worst advice given to young people. Does anyone want to guess what it is? Follow your passion. What utter bullshit. If someone tells you to follow your passion, it means they're already rich. And typically the guy on stage telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. This is your job. Your job is to find something you're good at and then spend the thousands of hours and apply the grit and the perseverance and the sacrifice and the willingness to break through hard things to become great at it. Because once you're great at something, the economic accoutrements of being great at something, the prestige, the relevance, the camaraderie, the self-worth of being great will make you passionate about whatever it is. No one grows up thinking, I'm passionate about tax law, but the best tax lawyers in this nation fly private and have a much broader selection of mates than they deserve. And they get to do interesting things, which, by the way, makes them passionate about tax law. And here's the problem with believing you should follow your passion. Work is hard. And when you run into obstacles and you face injustice, which is a common guaranteed attribute of the workplace, injustice, you'll start thinking, I'm not loving this. This is upsetting and hard. It must not be my passion. That is not the right litmus test. Do your passions on weekend. Be a DJ. Jay-Z followed his passion and is a billionaire. Again, assume you are not Jay-Z.
There you have it. I love that. I love that idea that, first of all, you and I, we're not Jay-Z. I'm not Joe Rogan. And therefore, I'm not throwing all my eggs in the podcasting basket, hoping that one day I'll break out and be Joe Rogan. I don't want to do that. I love to just get on here. This gives me an excuse to study the work of guys like Scott Galloway and other brilliant people and to bring these messages onto the Jason Wright Show. But he's exactly right. You know, once you work hard and you do the hard things and you find that thing that you're really, really good at, then it's really hard to walk away from something that you are just an absolute badass at. Because guess what? When you're really good at something that there's a market for, people will pay you plenty of money to do that thing. And it's funny how much it's kind of like I always say that a car always drives a little better when it's paid for. It's kind of like no matter what job it is, if people are paying you enough money to do it, it's just a little more enjoyable. The real draw to something is being good at it. So therefore, I'll just wrap this up and I'll just say this, especially again to the young professional out there. If you're hearing this, if you want to know what you should do with your life, go find the thing you are really good at. And don't do like Jason Wright did so often in his young career, and go try to do the things that you admired. Don't try to take jobs doing things that you think will impress other people because they're the things that they look good, they sound good, they're the things that the world admires, but you know deep down you're just not good at them. You're just not. Go find that thing that you're really, really good at. Not so much. Make your passion your hobby. If you can one day, I hope everybody out there listening to this becomes the next Jay-Z. I hope you can be Tom Cruise and be passionate about acting and making movies and then turn that into a wildly successful career. But guess what? You should probably assume you're not Tom Cruise. You should probably assume that you just might be an absolute ninja at accounting, at practicing law, at practicing medicine, whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, go find what you're good at and then become an absolute ninja at it and watch the passion follow. Continue to improve always and always. I'm Jason. I am out.